Have you seen Enoch the movie, which is about the life of Pastor E.A. Adeboye? If yes, I know you really enjoyed it and the movie really blessed you. And if you haven't watched the movie yet, I can tell you for free you are really missing a lot. But without further ado, I would like to draw out 5 important lessons to learn from this particular biopic of Pastor E.A. Adeboye. If you have watched the movie, I bet you learned more than just 5 lessons, because there are hundreds of lessons to learn from it. But for the purpose of this video, and in order not to bore you with lots of talk, we will be talking about just 5 important lessons to learn from this movie. And I promise the third lesson I'll be talking about encapsulates everything in the movie. So let's start with the first one, which is determination. From the start of the movie, you see determination written all over the life of Enoch. From the scene where the villagers went to joyfully welcome the educated villager, Enoch was lost as there. He was totally lost looking at the villager. Even when he was called by his sister multiple times, he did not respond, because it was just his body that was present. His spirit had already followed the principal. Because Enoch had seen what he wanted and what he actually finds interesting, so he was very much attracted to it, and all he wanted was to be as educated as the man he saw. He was ready to do anything within his reach to attain that level, to the extent he starved for 3 days just for experience to see how much he valued what he wanted, and nothing else matters to him at that point. When I see the character of Enoch, I see perseverance, I see passion, I see the measure of fire anyone that really wants to succeed in life should have. That is the kind of energy you should put in. When he finally got to Elisha Grammar School, he showed a higher level of determination, to the extent even without shoes, he never let those distractions hold him back, because he knew he was a man on a mission. Even though he was mocked by his mates, he was called natural shoes and all that.
I'm talking to you, stand up! What's your name?
Natural.
Quiet!
I guess that was the least of his problems at that time. Then to the next lesson, sacrifice. There is not so much to say on this particular lesson. The lesson of sacrifice was portrayed by the character of Enoch's father, whom sacrificed his priceless ram just for his son to be able to achieve his determined dream of going to school. This is substantially similar to the sacrifice God made by giving out his only begotten son for the redemption of man, as seen in the book of John chapter 3 verse 16 of the Bible. But in the case of Enoch, his father sacrificed his priceless ram for Enoch's education. It is no news that back in those days, wealth is valued based on the amount of livestock you own, and in the case of Enoch's dad, he had just 1 ram, which means he was obviously very poor, but he went ahead to sell the ram just for his son's education. Another place where sacrifice was shown in a very high measure was in the church, where they were all instructed by the pastor to bring all their life savings to the church as offering to God. Nobody did, not even those who claimed to be the elders in the church. It was only Enoch and his wife that emptied their accounts and brought everything they had. This is to tell you how much they actually loved and believed in God, that they had to offer everything they had in their accounts, even though at that point they were not deeply rooted in the Christian faith. But they still believed in God enough to give him everything they had.
You see, when our Lord Jesus Christ died on the cross, he gave us his all. So this that we are giving as well is the least that we can give to him.
Ó ṣe gẹ́gẹ́ bí Olúwa ṣe pa láṣẹ ní ọ̀sẹ̀ tó kọjá.
That particular scene was quite funny, because even they that brought everything they had, they were surprised. I mean, with all the multitudes in the church, no one else stood up. Should I say they were a bit embarrassed looking at how they immediately sat down on their seat. The lesson of the love of God is seen in literally every part of the movie. Even without drawing your attention to it, if you have watched the movie, you must have seen how the love of God reflects in the life of Enoch. The love of God is the central theme in the movie, because it reflects on almost every part of the life of the main character Enoch, from where he got to the Elisha Grammar School, that he outsmarted his classmates and got distinction in all the subjects, making him the best graduating student. It can only be God. The movie also reflects the fact that no matter how evil your past is, God will still accept you regardless of who you were or who you used to be, because the love of God is for everyone. Even after Enoch had gone to different witch doctors in his desperation to get solutions for his problem, made sacrifices to those gods and all that, the moment he turned to God, he was accepted and shown love without condemnation. This is to bring to our minds the fact that God's love is all-encompassing and it never discriminates, no matter how bad your past might seem. Enoch is a classical definition of a destiny child in the movie, someone whose destiny cannot be stopped by anything on the face of the earth. This is seen from the struggles he passed through as a teenager and even as an adult. But all this never held him back. He kept his focus straight because he knew where he was going and where he ought to be. When he got to the church, he was loved and respected by his pastor, not because he had the best personality in the church, but because he had a glorious destiny waiting for him, so everything works in his favor. Now to the last lesson, leadership. The list of qualities of a good leader is without end, but when you talk about good leadership, Papa Akindayomi should be the face of it. That man is just out of this world, how he carries everyone in the church along. He was intentional about the well-being of his members, even new converts like Enoch. We saw when he visited Enoch's house in the company of one of his pastors. He showed good leadership traits there in the scene where he rejected the food Abdejare offered he and his accomplice. But when he realized his accomplice wanted the food, he never made him feel less of himself, even though it didn't sit well with him. Instead, he told Abdejare to prepare the food that he was going to eat, but under the condition that they were all going to eat the meal together. I think that solves it all. This movie is a very great movie. It has really impacted my life in many ways I can't even explain. So I decided to make a draft of 5 lessons I learned from the movie. You can also share yours with us in the comment section. Thank you. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel and turn on all post notifications. See you in our subsequent uploads.